Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Pioneer Basketball Show with Devan Carter. I'm Brian Staten, joined by Pioneer coach Devan Carter. The Pioneers opened up the season, a lot of road games, opened the season at 4-2 through their first 6. Coach, it's a interesting season when you take a look at it so far, just because the amount of games that we've been away from Pioneer Arena and adjusting to life without Casey Johnson, because we knew that at least coming into the start of the season. What has that been like, knowing that an all-conference player wasn't going to be back with you this year?
Yeah, it's definitely been an adjustment. Casey Johnson, I tell people this all the time, if she were to not play another game, she would be the 7th best three-point shooter percentage-wise in NCAA history. And, so obviously that's a huge loss. She's been an all-conference player for us multiple years, stretches the floor, very athletic, very good in the press, and not having her was a big blow for sure.
It was definitely something the Pioneers knew about, at least before the start of the year. We'll have her back for next season. We go through this first 4. You open up with a big challenge. You take on Belmont Abbey down there in Charlotte. You also open up with King. 2 really good games, and 2 really, I think for you, learned a little bit about your team, at least dealing with some adversity, especially on the road.
Absolutely. And, when we played Belmont Abbey, I was telling, my assistant coaches, I watched them go play a 2-time conference champion Elon, 2-time tournament team, and it was a 4-point game. And Belmont Abbey had the game late in the fourth quarter. They had the lead. And then they go to UNC Wilmington, and their post players just absolutely dominated that game. And so I said, wow, what a way to open up the year. But, dealing with some adversity, we were down quite a bit early, and then we were able to fight back and get some stops and get a win that I think is going to age very well. I hadn't paid attention to Conference Carolinas a ton, but I would imagine that Belmont Abbey is probably the best team in that league. And for us to get that one on the road at their place is definitely a win that's going to age well.
It's definitely, for this Pioneer basketball team, to open up the year the way you did, 2-0, to go then to Clayton State. And we all know what they do. They build NCAA tournament-type teams, revamp, restock, reload. You probably played the best 3 quarters you may have played all year long, but that didn't happen definitely in the fourth quarter.
Right.
But Callie Patterson definitely bailed you out.
Absolutely. And we knew going into that game, I told our team going into it, when we were building our, the program, that's not a game I would have scheduled early on. That was a game I felt like was a litmus test for us as a program, because, you have another game that's going to, I think, another win that's going to age well for us. They play a very, very similar style than us. They were bigger than us, longer than us. They actually had their point guard actually was signed with us. And so I think Mia Long took that one a little personally, and we were able to limit her to 1 point. Played 3 great quarters, overcome some adversity, was down in that game as well, built a 10-point lead, and almost let it slip. Callie Patterson stepped up, made a huge shot, but Jasmine Williams and Jayla Arnwine won that game for us. They came off the bench in the third quarter. We had some foul trouble going around, and Sydney and Callie didn't play almost the entire second half. Jayla and Jazz gave us huge minutes, and we were able to pull that one out. Another win that I think is going to age well. They went to Carson Newman, played Carson Newman to 4. We were able to get them by 3, so no doubt that's a really good basketball team at Clayton State.
Yeah, it's a good team. This Pioneer team started the year at 3-0, then came home to Pioneer Arena for our very first game, take on a Virginia State team. Flashback 1 year ago, we go there, and might have been the ugliest game that we may have played all year. They forced us into a lot of miscues, a lot of turnovers, and then your style kind of just wore this team down too. An impressive home opener.
Yeah, and Virginia State is another game that I scheduled because I felt like I wanted to know early what we were about. Last year we went there and you put it nicely.
Yeah.
They dominated us. They dominated us. They were bigger. They were more physical. They were faster. They were stronger. They shot the ball better. They put up, I believe, 90-some points against us. And I used to always joke with people, if a team puts up 90 on us, I'm going to go crazy. Well, they did. And so, bringing it back to this year, I really felt like that was going to be another test for us. They play a very unique style, and they switch their defenses so much. And we had to be prepared for like 5 different things. and was really proud of how our girls responded. Another game didn't get off to a great start, but we responded and was able to get some quick, easy buckets, and then we were able to knock down some shots.
Good opening win for the Pioneers at home. They opened the year at 4-0. So, Coach, after that, you go through those games. Number one in the league in scoring defense, number one in steals, number one in turnover margin, those types of things. So, once again, an extremely solid defensive team as you go in to open up against one of the conference favorites, such as yourself. This is a heavyweight fight, Tusculum and Anderson. As we open up conference play, you go on the road. Going in with all of those things, and through a half, maybe the first quarter you didn't respond the way you wanted to. Second quarter you definitely did. Third quarter, but just going into that Anderson contest, the takeaway from your team, what you learned. Maybe not a whole lot of hype surrounding this game, but for me there was a lot of hype. Yeah. Maybe for you there was a lot of hype. Yeah. But for the kids, did they take the challenge seriously? And do you feel you got out of it what you needed to get out of it?
Well, the thing about Anderson is that I told our kids going into the game that, at the time we were the number one defensive team in the league. But to me, I think Anderson has always, Coach JB does a great job on the defensive end. So going into the game that points are going to be, hard to come by.
Yeah.
The thing that I think I admire most about, Coach JB and Anderson is that, the guy, they're going to defend, they're going to rebound, and they're going to make life extremely difficult for you to score. And so we go into that game, and it seems like when we go there, they get us, and when they come here, we get them.
Yeah.
They always protect home court. Very tough place to play. I think that our girls were focused for that game, but sometimes you have games where you just don't make shots.
Yeah.
And, I thought the first half, I think we were up by 1 at halftime or something like that. I thought we didn't get off to a great start, but I thought the second quarter we responded, and then we get into that third quarter and shots just don't fall. And, going against the Anderson team that's so skilled, I think they probably got the best 1-2 punch in the league with Ace Easter and Mullenhauer. And those girls made some incredible shots. And against a normal player, you would say, hey, those were, may have been a lucky night. Nah, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Ace Easter had 28 against NC State, and that lets you know what they're capable of. And they knocked down some great shots, and we went cold at the wrong time. And against a great team, you can't do it.
29-11, that third quarter is what Anderson was able to outscore Tusculum. And it wasn't that they didn't stop playing. It's just that shots did not go down, and Mullenhauer went off for 16, I believe, in the quarter alone. In that contest. So the Anderson Trojans get the win. Then you travel to Catawba. Total different set of circumstances. We didn't shoot the ball very well against Anderson. Then against Catawba, it may have been, and I said it on the air, this may have been the worst performance I've seen from a women's basketball team under your direction.
Yeah.
And I wasn't saying that to be negative about you. It was just we couldn't do anything right, it seemed like, on Saturday.
Well, you know what? Now, you must have forgot about that first year.
Well, yeah.
We had some ruffles that first year, but, in all seriousness, I agree 1,000%. I feel like going into that game, we had a great week of prep. Obviously, we had some situations occur on our team, and I tell our kids all the time that you have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And, having been a player that's been through it myself, everything that I try to teach our kids is from experience. And so I tell them my story all the time about my sophomore year in college. I started in college as a freshman. Sophomore year, got my spot taken, because I wasn't selling out like I should have been. And I tell our kids that, and obviously we had the injury situation. Bug hit us, and, going throughout the year, you hear people, Coach, what can I do to play more? What can I do to play more? And, everybody's mom and dad thinks they should be starting and playing 30 minutes a game. But life gives you this thing called opportunities. And so we had to have some kids step up for us on the road. And we went to Catawba. And I will say this, I think it was the first time since I've been the coach here that I felt like we didn't go in and compete. I felt like our heart, our competitive nature, our pride, everything about us was tested. And this week we've been getting that back.
Yeah.
We've been at it pretty early every day this week, and every now and then, as my dad says, you got to check yourself. And Catawba was that. And not taking anything from Catawba, Coach Baxter, I think, is going to be a star in this league. They flat out punked us, and they worked harder than us, and they deserved that win. For us to have as many possessions as we had, for us to force as many turnovers as we did, for us to have as many steals as we did, there's no way that we should have, dropped that contest.
Right.
And I felt like we flat out just didn't compete, and that's something that we won't see again.
Yeah. Talia Barnes, big game for Catawba as they get that victory against the Tusculum Pioneers. So open the year at 4-0, then drop their last two, now 0-2 in league play. And the injury bug, you heard him talk about that. I thought it was odd not seeing Casey Johnson out there, but then we go to Anderson and we lose Sydney Wilson in the fourth quarter, and then we go to Catawba and lose Tori Patton through the first few minutes of the third quarter, and she was unstoppable at that point. So here you've got two all-conference players and then a player last year that started every single game for you in Tori Patton that you don't have. How does this obviously change the makeup of this team?
It changes it a lot. Obviously Sydney with the ACL, she's out for the year. Tori with the Achilles is out for the year. Casey will be out for the year. Anytime you say, all right, coach, you're going to play the year and you're not going to have your best player, you say, okay, well, I knew that coming in. Well, then they say, hey, coach, I'm going to take away your second best player. That's tough as well. And then they say, if I'm going to take away your toughest player, now all of a sudden you're in a predicament. But at the end of the day, I think we still have the most valuable player on our team, which I believe is Mia Long. All of our kids know that, this is their opportunity. And so it's why we harp on kids about not being average and being extra. We talk to them about being extra because being average is easy, but being extra, when your opportunity comes, you'll be prepared for that. And so flat out, when we were at Catawba, that was their first opportunity to step up, and we didn't get that. And so we have to just continue to hit that, and we're going to have some kids step up for us in a mighty way. But with that being said, I think that somebody like Jazz Williams and Jayla Arnwine and Mia Long, Lord have mercy, bless her heart, because I'm going to put even more responsibilities on her. We still have the pieces to compete and be competitive in this league. I truly believe that. Our big thing has been sell out. We got to sell out to do it, though.
Yeah.
And so that's been our message, really all year. But when you lose the type of talent and scoring and toughness that we have, everything gets magnified.
Yeah.
And so, we're still going to fight and try to be as competitive as we can. I have no doubt, and I believe that our team can still compete at a high level in this league. Just because people go down doesn't mean that you have to change your goals or anything else. You may have to change the way that you go about them.
Right.
But you don't have to change your goals, and we're definitely not doing that.
That'll be tested here through the month of December as well. We'll be rejoined by Pioneer coach Devan Carter. We'll take a brief break. We'll talk about the December schedule right after this when the Pioneer Basketball Show continues.
Best are back. Applebee's Bigger, Bolder Grill Combos. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
Welcome you back into the Pioneer Basketball Show with Pioneer coach Devan Carter. I'm Brian Staten. So the Pioneers have opened up the year at 4-2. This is a team that's getting some recognition, obviously, through the region. Carson Newman, Wingate, Anderson, the teams that kind of gained some of that preseason recognition. Tusculum outside of that. One of the teams that we'll face in the month of December hasn't really gained a whole lot of recognition, but it's definitely a coach that knows exactly what he's doing. Brings in some great talent, some good international Australian talent. And, what I think Coach Sean does at Newberry is what he has to deal with and what he has. And the talent that he brings in. Meg Essex was just named the National Player of the Week just last week.
Yeah.
maybe opening up at unbeaten on the year is a stretch for me to say it. Maybe you would agree with me. One of the better teams, not only in our league, but probably even in our region. And that's what you got after you learn that you're not going to have two of your very best players.
Absolutely. You know, you talk about surprising note. Coach Sean went to AUM over Montgomery to start the year. And so all of a sudden you're wondering, well, is Essex going with him there? You know, Shelby Britton going with him there? So you're wondering, like, what's going on in Newberry, and Coach Tincher gets the job, and all those kids stay.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was having a conversation with a high major Division I assistant 2 nights ago, and she said, Meg Essex would start for us right now. And Meg Essex, like you said, National Player of the Year, first time it's ever happened in league history in the SAC. Shelby Britton, like a little fire engine, man. She just keeps going. She leads that team. The thing about Newberry is they have great size. I mean, they're built like a mid-major Division I basketball program. The McCarthy girl for them has stepped in this year, a 6-foot wing. They pass well. They shoot the ball incredibly well. And the thing that they're doing that they've always done is they're defending really, really well. So, you know, obviously going to have our work cut out for us. Everything runs through Meg Essex, and, you know, we're going to have to find a way to stop her. That's been probably the riddle in the league for the last 3 years. Hopefully we can put something together to do that. But, you know, it all goes back to, you know, last year I think was the first time we beat Newberry in 9 years or something crazy like that. You know, it can be done. You know, we've shown that. You know, you got to rebound the ball, you got to defend well, and you got to take their best player out of the game. So I think those are things that can be done. You know, our message to our team, though, is still, though, you have to compete at a really high level. And so to do that, you've got to sell out. You've got to sell out defensively. You got to sell out communication-wise and stuff like that. So obviously a tough stretch of games here for us, but you know, we're going to compete and do the best we can.
The rest of that month involves Queens, and again, these are Sunday games. Newberry Sunday, Queens Sunday, and then a North Greenville trip. North Greenville trip, by the way, who beat Catawba in the first game of the season this year. Take a long Christmas break before you have back-to-back home games just after the new year. What do you need to see out of December before you kind of get this long break?
Well, you know, anytime you lose seniors and anytime you lose leadership, you want to see who's going to kind of step up and fill that void. You know, circumstances happen to you. You can't complain about them. You just got to adjust with them. The thing I want to see is who's going to step up and fill the void of the players that we had go down, and who's just going to compete at the highest level. At the end of the day, you know, you can think that, hey, I deserve to play or this or that, but I always go back to the question, are you doing everything you can to put yourself in a situation to be successful, and are you giving your all to our team and our program? And so, you know, we've got some young kids that had to step into the lineup. Maya Belton stepped into the lineup for us, and, you know, I thought for the first significant minutes of the year, she played well. You know, made some freshman mistakes. That's what happens with freshmen, you know, inexperienced. But, you know, we've got to have some kids step up for us. And so, you know, I'm going to challenge our kids. I tell them the story all the time about Cal Ripken. I tell them the story all the time about, you know, running back for the Cowboys. Brand Hill's dad. You know, got hurt, and then all of a sudden, Emmitt Smith comes and takes his spot, and you don't get it back. You know, so you know, those are the situations that I want our kids to take advantage of. Opportunities present itself, and I want to see who's going to take advantage of it.
Best of luck.
Thank you, sir.
Pioneer coach Devan Carter, the Pioneers against Newberry Sunday and against Queens on Sunday in the month of December because of exams and graduation, and then close it out before Christmas with the midweek road trip to Tigerville, South Carolina to take on the Crusaders of North Greenville University. Listen on the Pioneer Sports Network to all of it. Watch the home games here on the Pioneer Sports Network as well. For Dick Forsberg, for Devan Carter, I'm Brian Staten. This is Pioneer Basketball on the Pioneer Sports Network.